At 18, she debuted and became famous for her first on-screen nude scene. Over a 10-year career, she starred in 30 adult-rated films, and before turning 30, she had already become Korea's top erotic actress, a sex symbol dreamed of by countless men. Even the president at the time personally requested private sessions to discuss her lines. Every time her assistant handed her another risque script, Jeong Hee-ran realized that relying on her body for fame was not a sustainable path. After witnessing and experiencing the entertainment industry's harsh and unimaginable backstage realities, she decided it was time to completely change her approach. Jeong Hee-ran held a private press conference and declared before the media that she would no longer appear nude in films. The clothes she had once shed over the years were now metaphorically being put back on. But such a bold move stirred massive financial interests, and the powers behind the industry would not allow her to retire easily. Producer Koo Young-ho, aware that the adult film market would explode in the new era, was determined not to let go of Jeong Hee-ran, his golden goose. In retaliation for her unilateral announcement, he enforced the exclusive contract she had signed, demoting her to a supporting role in his new film Madam Aema while holding auditions for new lead actresses. He also instructed the director to alter the supporting role, to subvert Jeong Hee-ran's previous image and make audiences dislike her. His cruel plan was to pressure her into submission. Having spent years navigating the industry, Jeong Hee-ran immediately understood Koo Young-ho's intentions and devised a counterplan: collaborate with a talented and reputable director to reinvent her career while retaliating against his oppression. After completing her final film under the exclusive contract, she dressed meticulously and approached the renowned director Kwon Do-il. With an almost humble demeanor, she pleaded to be cast as the lead in his upcoming project, assuring him that her acting would never disappoint. However, the director responded that his script was not yet complete and that any collaboration would have to wait. Faced with his cold attitude, Jeong Hee-ran prepared two strategies: acquire the script as soon as possible to persuade him to work with her, and do everything she could to prevent the newcomer auditions from succeeding. But nobody expected the aspiring actresses who came for auditions to behave like a troupe of clowns. Their poor performances reassured Jeong Hee-ran, until the director, ready to leave, met the late-arriving Shin Joo-ae. Dressed in factory clothes but exuding confidence, she explained her delay due to a rural performance and then dazzled the room with a passionate tap dance. Shin Joo-ae's confidence and charisma immediately caught the director's attention. On her second audition, her curvaceous figure perfectly matched the lead character. Koo Young-ho praised her repeatedly, though his crude remarks made her uncomfortable. When Jeong Hee-ran learned this, she rushed to the set in anger, but seeing the newcomer's flawless figure, she felt a flicker of concern. Yet above all, she felt a challenge. Despite the top star's insults, Shin Joo-ae refused to back down. Confronted with Koo Young-ho's vulgarity and Jeong Hee-ran's hostility, she hesitated, fearing bullying and industry exploitation. But seeing Jeong Hee-ran's confident and radiant presence in television ads, Shin Joo-ae resolved to seize her chance. Coming from a rural background with no connections, she knew she had to fight for this opportunity or risk a lifetime of missed chances. The next day, she returned to the audition, showing her willingness to put everything on the line, but with one condition: she wanted to be transformed into the next top erotic star. For Jeong Hee-ran, this was a public declaration of war. She confronted Shin Joo-ae immediately, but the newcomer did not retreat. She consulted the producers and director instead. She thought that if he had to play the lead role in the movie, she would have to do something bold. After thinking about this, she started unbuttoning his shirt, and she did it. Everyone in the room was surprised by his confidence. Impressed by her courage and self-assurance, the production team cast Shin Joo-ae as the lead, transforming a rural, inexperienced girl into a highly anticipated movie star. Unwilling to be humiliated, Jeong Hee-ran demanded Koo Young-ho release her from the contract. But he reminded her that the penalties far exceeded her offer, and there was no way he would let go of his superstar so easily. 2 days later, Jeong Hee-ran finally obtained director Kwon Do-il's script. Reading the story and the female lead's role, she was almost moved to tears. The part seemed written for her. This was her chance to reclaim her career, and she was determined to seize it. She traced the director to his villa and braved the rain to meet him overnight. This time, Jeong Hee-ran spoke plainly, no more roundabout flattery or vague promises. She expressed her deep desire to play the lead role and explained that her goal was to reinvent herself and earn the respect she truly deserved. She wanted to pave a path of reform for all actresses in the industry. Perhaps moved by her sincerity, or maybe inspired by her poised presence on the sofa, director Kwon Do-il suddenly found his creative spark and completed the first draft of the story. Grateful for agreeing to Jeong Hee-ran's request, he approached producer Koo Young-ho the next day to propose a collaboration. When Koo Young-ho heard that Kwon Do-il specifically wanted Jeong Hee-ran, he immediately suspected the director's intentions. After some sly negotiations, Koo Young-ho sent his girlfriend Mina to formally introduce Jeong Hee-ran to the director. However, Koo Young-ho's temper flared when his subtle schemes were exposed, and a heated argument broke out between him and director Kwon. The disagreement escalated so far that they actually came to blows. By the time Jeong Hee-ran arrived, the two men were already battered and exhausted. Jeong Hee-ran realized that her hard-won chance for collaboration had been sabotaged, and her career transformation seemed once again out of reach. To make matters worse, the company sent Shin Joo-ae to the high-end studio of fashion designer Go Bo-guk to try on custom-made couture dresses originally intended for Jeong Hee-ran. Seeing the luxurious gowns, Shin Joo-ae was inspired. She believed she was just as capable as Jeong Hee-ran and that all she lacked was fame and exposure. At home, she secretly altered the gowns, planning to impress everyone with her own vision. The next day, at a press conference, she deliberately flaunted her figure, catching the audience's attention. Jeong Hee-ran, experienced as she was, initially ignored the stunt. But afterward, she confronted Shin Joo-ae, pointing out that the gowns were custom-made for her, and altering them publicly diminished both her and the designer's reputation. This heated exchange marked the beginning of a silent war between the two actresses. Soon, even worse news arrived. The script for Madame Aema was returned by the censorship board with 36 required revisions. The most critical mandate was a ban on any nudity, effectively stripping the film of its main selling point and rendering the massive investment of time, effort, and resources nearly wasted. After an intense brainstorming session that afternoon, director Kwon proposed using subtlety, hinting at exposure without explicit nudity, to create a half-revealed effect, leaving much to the audience's imagination. Surprisingly, this approach could even enhance the film's appeal. The exact execution would be figured out later, but for now, they could proceed with other scenes. Following a simple opening ceremony, filming officially began. However, the first scene quickly ran into trouble. Shin Joo-ae, inexperienced and nervous, repeatedly forgot her lines or spoke them haltingly. In contrast, Jeong Hee-ran performed flawlessly throughout. To assert her dominance and retaliate against the newcomer who had taken her lead role, Jeong Hee-ran even exaggerated a slap in one scene and left the set immediately afterward, deliberately forcing Shin Joo-ae to use a stunt double for her part. Before leaving, she didn't hesitate to mock Shin Joo-ae publicly. Director Kwon, unable to intervene, could only vent his frustration on Shin Joo-ae. At the end of the first day of shooting, Shin Joo-ae, furious and frustrated, confronted Jeong Hee-ran. She acknowledged that Jeong Hee-ran's acting was flawless but pleaded that as a newcomer, she was still learning and trying her best. Why didn't Jeong Hee-ran, as a senior, offer even a word of encouragement? Instead, she humiliated Shin Joo-ae by having her act opposite a stunt double. Yet Jeong Hee-ran showed no mercy. Her harsh words struck Shin Joo-ae deeply, leaving her determined to become an outstanding actress, even though she didn't yet realize the painful sacrifices the path would demand. During the filming of the second scene, an acupuncture sequence, director Kwon required Jeong Hee-ran, who was merely observing, and Shin Joo-ae, who was performing, to synchronize their reactions. The bizarre demand left Jeong Hee-ran stunned, and she walked off in protest. Director Kwon tried to explain, but Jeong Hee-ran insisted that such meaningless scenes were merely lowbrow attempts to provoke sexual tension, which no true professional director or actor would accept. As Jeong Hee-ran left, Shin Joo-ae pursued her, criticizing her lack of professionalism. From Shin Joo-ae's perspective, the top star was abandoning the crew just to suit her own whims. Jeong Hee-ran didn't engage, but Shin Joo-ae persisted. Her relentless presence caused the shoot to halt, giving both director Kwon and Shin Joo-ae valuable time to strategize. During a private conversation, Shin Joo-ae asked why the director insisted on casting her as the lead. Flustered, he couldn't give a clear answer. She revealed that she had developed early as a child, which led to judgmental attention from neighbors. For years, this had made her feel self-conscious, forcing her to walk with her head down. She had never imagined that this trait could one day become an advantage. The director explained that new censorship rules banned nudity, allowing only subtle depictions. Instantly, Shin Joo-ae devised a solution. She poured water onto a thin white dress and placed her hand underneath it. The wet fabric clung delicately, subtly revealing the shape of her hand, both elegant and suggestive. Director Kwon was thrilled. This innovative method solved the film's most critical challenge. The crew immediately began filming Shin Joo-ae's scenes. With the rain enhancing the effect, the sequence turned out perfectly. However, as the crew reached a pivotal moment, government officials from the cultural department arrived, demanding an immediate halt to all filming. Producer Koo Young-ho called his contacts in a panic, arguing that the script had already been revised according to regulations and even submitted to the authorities. Why, then, were they ordered to stop? Before he could react further, Minister Lee arrived. He didn't directly answer Koo Young-ho's questions but mentioned that the host city for the upcoming Olympics had just been announced, most likely Seoul. Preparations for a celebratory banquet were already underway, with instructions to add some novelty to the event. Koo Young-ho immediately understood the subtext. His new film had introduced a promising newcomer, and she would likely be a highlight at the banquet. Minister Lee's words signaled an opportunity. He instructed Shin Ju-ae to attend the celebration as the company representative. Though hesitant, aware it meant attending, entertaining, and pleasing influential figures, she realized this was a rare chance for exposure and could even help resolve the filming halt. Determined to advance her career, Shin Ju-ae agreed. That evening, a luxury car picked her up and brought her to an opulent villa. Upon arrival, the butler ordered her to remove all her clothes. The commanding tone made Shin Ju-ae realize that her path to success required obedience. The butler examined her carefully, seemingly inspecting for any issues, and only after confirming she had none did he allow staff to bring in an array of designer outfits. Shin Ju-ae could only stand there as the staff dressed her, their eyes full of disdain. The butler warned her that she must not reveal a single thing about what she saw, heard, or experienced, not even in her sleep, or she and everyone she knew would disappear. Finally, she was required to sign a strict confidentiality agreement. Only then was she allowed to enter the venue. The moment the grand doors of the banquet hall opened, Shin Ju-ae was stunned by the extravagant scene inside. At the center of the stage, performing, was Jeong Hee-ran, the top star with whom she had worked. The high-profile guests reacted wildly, almost like predators seeing prey. A man forcibly led Shin Ju-ae to the center of the stage, telling her that, as a newcomer VIP, she had the right to choose her seat. Nervous but observant, she quickly identified the most influential figure in the room and seated herself near him. To welcome her, the man poured a glass of alcohol, added ice, and stirred it with his fingers, insisting she drink it all. Recognizing him as Korea's most powerful figure, Shin Ju-ae forced herself to comply, hiding her disgust. Throughout the stage celebration, Shin Ju-ae was too frightened to speak and eventually excused herself to the restroom. There, she coincidentally encountered Jeong Hee-ran touching up her makeup. Jeong Hee-ran's questions made Shin Ju-ae realize that she had been completely set up by Koo Young-ho's schemes. Before she could fully recover from her fear, staff urged her to leave the restroom. She was then escorted to the influential man's private room. He praised her resilience as a newcomer and suggested that if she pleased him, her career could skyrocket. Simultaneously, his actions implied threats, forcing Shin Ju-ae to make a crucial decision. Trembling, she spoke her answer and quickly fled the room. Without a direct order from the host, the bodyguards would not let her leave. Observing Shin Ju-ae struggling with them, Jeong Hee-ran recognized herself in the young actress and pleaded on her behalf. Clearly, she knew the preferences of these powerful figures. Thanks to Jeong Hee-ran's intervention, Shin Ju-ae was allowed to leave, and even received a substantial payment. Immediately after leaving the banquet, Jeong Hee-ran confronted Koo Young-ho, furious that a newcomer had been forced to compromise her dignity. As producer and boss, how could he not protect his own talent? Koo Young-ho defended himself, arguing that in a country where powerful people could seize or even kill anyone at any moment, refusing their demands was not an option. Jeong Hee-ran produced the signed filming approval documents and insisted that, if they were continuing the project, it must be done seriously and professionally. The next day, Shin Ju-ae thanked Jeong Hee-ran. She understood that without the senior actress's intervention, every man at the banquet might have taken advantage of her. Jeong Hee-ran, maintaining her cold exterior, advised Shin Ju-ae to embrace toughness in the industry and to reflect deeply on why she was willing to sacrifice everything to become an actress. This question forced Shin Ju-ae into deep thought. After much reflection, she realized her goal, to become an independent woman like Jeong Hee-ran, strong on the outside, yet tender and passionate within, fearless in love and hate. With this clarity, Shin Ju-ae donated the money she had received at the banquet to the righteous journalist Leong, explaining that such dirty money should only be used for good causes. Before filming resumed, director Kwon and Jeong Hee-ran carefully discussed the film's storyline, ensuring the production would proceed thoughtfully and strategically. As a seasoned actress, Jeong Hee-ran proposed removing the purely vulgar scenes, blending sensuality naturally into the storyline. She insisted the film should not become another cliched, lowbrow erotic movie. With the combined efforts of director Kwon and Jeong Hee-ran, the script was meticulously refined. During this time, Shin Ju-ae continued improving her acting, and the team ultimately produced a sensual film with artistic depth. After filming wrapped, Jeong Hee-ran confronted Koo Young-ho to terminate her contract. But he played a word game, claiming the contract required her to star in 12 films as a lead. Since she was only a supporting actress in Madame Aema, she still had to film another erotic movie to be freed. Seeing Koo Young-ho's true, malicious nature, Jeong Hee-ran stopped wasting words. Their confrontation escalated into a fight, drawing police attention. Before the authorities could intervene, a clock smashed into a police car, and both were taken to the station. Thanks to her connections and star status, Jeong Hee-ran was released early. She and her assistant quietly went to Koo Young-ho's villa to seize and destroy the contract. Using a hunting rifle, she blew open the safe. While searching, she found a ledger detailing which actresses Koo Young-ho had delivered to high-ranking officials and how many gold bars he received each time. Jeong Hee-ran realized the truth. All of Koo Young-ho's claims of coercion were lies. He profited from exploiting his actresses. Before she could fully process the ledger, Koo Young-ho arrived. When confronted, he arrogantly claimed that since he had invested in these stars, it was only natural to benefit. A struggle ensued. Jeong Hee-ran tore out several pages and tried to escape. Koo Young-ho, abandoning his usual restraint, attacked her, knocking her down and seizing the ledger. Seizing a fallen hunting rifle, Jeong Hee-ran shot him in the arm. To avoid escalating the situation further, she did not finish him off. Fuming with revenge, Koo Young-ho demanded that director Kwon re-edit the film, portraying Jeong Hee-ran as a malicious, vulgar woman, and making the movie as explicit as possible. He threatened the director, if his instructions were not followed, Kwon's name would be publicly associated with the scandal. Fearing for his reputation, Kwon complied. Watching the re-edited version, Jeong Hee-ran saw herself depicted as a cruel, immoral figure, while Shin Ju-ae was also distorted into a character without principles. Unable to tolerate this malicious defamation, Jeong Hee-ran secretly stole the film reels at night, planning to burn them with Shin Ju-ae. She told Shin Ju-ae that she understood the pain of being misrepresented. Her own first film had been tampered with, normal scenes edited into salacious content, and the media had pressured her into becoming a sex symbol. Now, she didn't want Shin Ju-ae to become the next victim. Yet she left the final decision to Shin Ju-ae, since it was her first film. Grateful for Jeong Hee-ran's earlier help, Shin Ju-ae chose to trust her. Just as they were about to act, director Kwon arrived, tearfully begging them to spare the film. Despite its flaws, the real wrongdoer was Koo Young-ho, not him. Seeing Kwon's desperation, they relented. In the end, Jeong Hee-ran and Shin Ju-ae did not destroy the reels. The climax begins at the prestigious Grand Bell Awards. Actress Jeong Hee-ran, seemingly there for a Lifetime Achievement Award, seizes the opportunity to expose the industry's rot. She takes the microphone and, in a shocking moment, publicly reveals that film producer Koo Young-ho has been exploiting actresses and using a secret ledger to blackmail them. This bombshell triggers immediate pandemonium, with officials attempting to shut down the broadcast and silence her. Following the chaos, Jeong Hee-ran and the young actress Shin Ju-ae make a frantic escape from the venue. Their allies, including Ju-hae's younger brother, create a diversion, leading to a dramatic chase through the city. It is during this escape that they discover their fellow journalist, who helped with the exposé, has been captured and taken to a location the characters refer to as Namsan. This incident highlights the dangerous consequences of their actions and the lengths their enemies will go to stop them. The final pivotal event occurs when Shin Ju-ae, no longer a victim, confronts the villainous Koo Young-ho. She reveals that she holds a page from his secret ledger, a personal piece of evidence that names his key accomplice. This ultimate act of leverage ensures his downfall. Soon after, the police raid Koo Young-ho's office, bringing his reign of corruption to an end. The episode concludes with the two actresses standing together, having secured their freedom, yet knowing that the fight is a continuous one. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed, subscribe and let me know in the comments what you want to see next.